Good morning, students. We are going to continue with chapter 3 of NCERT, that is human reproduction. Students, this presentation is very important from examination as well as understanding point of view. Whatever you have learned from your previous presentation, you are going to summarize it all together. So watch each and every segment of this tutorial very carefully to develop holistic understanding. Let's continue. Topics which are being covered in this tutorial are fertilization, implantation, pregnancy, embryonic development, parturition, and lactation. First of all, we have to understand the fertilization, how it occurs, and what kind of changes ultimately led to the fertilization. Fertilization basically refers to the fusion of sperm and ovum, and sperms are going to travel from the testes to penis into the vagina and then uterus by the process of copulation, that is also referred as coitus. Okay, the motile sperm swim rapidly through the cervix region and enters into the uterus, reach to the ampullary isthmus junction of the oviduct. Please understand this point. When the sperm is going to enter into the uterus, they are going to be bifurcated in both of the fallopian tube towards ampullary isthmus junction. Okay, the sperms come in contact with zona pellucida and makes necessary changes to block the entry of further sperms. As you know, ectosomes contains a lot of enzymes for the deep penetration into the ovum. So these enzymes are going to be released, and they ultimately make the way for the sperm nucleus to reach inside the ovum. And there is a sort of competition going on as a meiotic 2 division going to complete along with penetration of the sperm inside the ovum is happening simultaneously. Ultimately, the diploid zygote is produced by the fusion of the sperm and the ovum. Now, move to the next part. This is the pictorial view how sperm is going to be penetrate inside the ovum. As you can see, so many sperms are there, but one sperm is able to reach to the zona pellucida and making some changes over there. So the entry of rest of the sperm will be blocked, completely blocked, and these changes will be ultimately led by the enzymes being present on the ectosome. It also paved way for the entry of the sperm's nucleus as well inside the ovum. And you can see in the animated video as well, the sperms, that is spermatozoa, is penetrating deep inside the zona pellucida, and simultaneously there is meiotic 2 division is happening. You can see the polar body as well. Then after fertilization, the zygote is going to pass through 2 cell, 4 cell, 8 cell stage, and this how the mitotic division carried afterwards. Now come to the implantation. Implantation refers to the attachment of early embryo into the endometrium to derive more and more nourishment through placenta. So zygote firstly going to divide mitotically as it is going to move through the isthmus of the oviduct towards the uterus, and this type of division, that is mitotic division, are referred as cleavage division. You can see the 2 cell, 4 cell, 8 cell, 16 daughter cells are going to be produced, and these are referred as blastomeres. And 8 to 16 cell stage is referred as morula. And morula going to continuously divide to form blastocyst. And this blastocyst is arranged into the two layer, that is outer trophoblast and inner cell mass. Inner cell mass comprising the cells which are left behind by that of the trophoblast. Okay, so it is basically the 32 cell stage. Now this trophoblast is going to attach to the endometrium and going to give rise full-fledged embryo. After attachment, the cells of the endometrial divide rapidly and cover all of the blastocyst. this blastocyst get embedded completely inside that of the endometrium of the uterus, and this ultimately led to the pregnancy. Now come to the various stages of the pregnancy along with the embryonic development inside the uterus. You can observe that after implantation, some sort of finger-like projection protruding out from the endometrium. These are referred as corneal, and these are going to form an interdigitate pattern with the cells of the embryo to form a structure which is referred as placenta. Placenta is totally a nutritive medium to provide all sort of nourishment to the developing embryo. This is the point where the embryo is completely attached to the mother's body, that is endometrium. Okay, now you can see in this diagram the inverted pear shaped structure is the uterus, and inside the uterus you can observe the yolk structure. Okay, this yolk structure is very very important. It is the type of nutrient going to be provided to the developing embryo through placenta. And you can see the interdigitate pattern of endometrium with that of the cells of embryo, and all sort of nourishment is going to be provided by this interdigitate pattern, that is placenta. And you can easily trace the umbilical cord. This umbilical cord is completely derived from the fetus. It is a tube-like structure. Inside this, so many stem cells have been present. As you know, stem cells are the protein cells which can be converted in any of the organ. So umbilical cord is basically uh, is a means to derive nourishment from the mother's body towards the fetus. So it is very very important connecting link between the fetus and the mother's body. And this is the cavity of the uterus. And below you can easily see the plug of mucus in the cervical region, and that cervical region is very very important. As you can see, if this plug is going to be dislocated or comes out, all of the uh, umbilical fluid, that is your, will come out. Okay, this will ultimately dry up the embryo. So this plug is very very important. If this is going to be removed, we need to parturiate the baby as soon as possible. Okay, so this is again very very important point. Now comes to the functions of the placenta. This has been asked numerous times in CBSE board examination. You have to memorize all the 3 points altogether. It's going to provide all sort of nourishment along with the gases required by the embryo. And also, it is a means to remove all the waste material, that is in terms of gases, in terms of any sort of nitrogenous waste material. It need to be removed out through the placenta. It also act as an endocrine tissue, going to secrete several hormones like human chronic gonadotrophin, human placental lactogen, estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen and progesterone are very very important hormones going to maintain the pregnancy. Okay, they are pregnancy hormone, but we can say. Now come to the next part. This is the pictorial view how ovulation takes place and then ultimately led to the implantation. You can see various stages here, the secondary oocyte and first polar body. Then you can see uh, the second meiotic division along with that of the second polar body. Okay, that is ovum, and sperms try to penetrate inside the ovum, and then there will be the pronucleus, that is formed by the division of that is formed by the division of secondary oocyte from second polar body, and this is at pronucleus which we are talking about. Then there is sperm pronucleus, and these two nuclei are going to fuse to form the zygote, and ultimately zygote is going to divide into 2 cell stage, 4 cell stage, and 8 cell stage. Up to 16 cell stage, it is referred as morula, and that is reached within 3 days. Okay, and this morula is going to convert into the blastocyst, having trophoblast and inner cell mass. You can easily observe the inner cell mass over here. This is 32 cell stage, and these cells are going to be attached to the endometrium. Okay, so how implantation takes place, that is a connecting link between the early stage embryo with the endometrium. Okay, you can have a clear cut idea about all of the stages. Now comes to the pregnancy and embryonic development. In later phase of the pregnancy, hormone called relaxin is going to release by the ovary. Okay. Now some of the hormones like estrogen, progesterone, cortisol, prolactin, and thyroxine hormones level is going to be at the very high rate, and this is going to maintain the changes inside the mother body along with that of the maintenance of pregnancy. Now, umbilical cord connects placenta with the embryo that helps in transportation of substances to and from the embryo. Okay. Now, let's see the inner cell mass of the blastocyst is going to divide into the three layers, that is ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. Ectoderm is the outer one, mesoderm is the middle one, and endoderm is the innermost one. Okay. So, ectoderm is the outer one, and endoderm is the inner one, and mesoderm is the middle one. Inner cell mass contains certain cells that is referred as stem cells. Stem cells are the potent cells which can give rise to any tissues or organ. So these are very important source of research in future. Nowadays, umbilical cord is going to be preserved after the delivery so that it can be used for extracting stem cells. This is very important area of today's research. Now you can see stages of fetal development. You can see how fetal looks like in all of the 9 months together, and you can easily see the placenta section along with the umbilical cord section. The umbilical cord is this the skinny color, and the reddish color structure is the placenta. And here you can see the yolk region, which is clearly visible, and then you can see how the baby is going to develop throughout. Now, look at the month-wise embryonic development. During the first month, after completion of the first month, the heart becomes fully functional, and the second month, by the end of the second month, the fetus is going to develop hands and legs along with the fingers. After third month, we have most of the organ development. So third month is very important. Now, the fifth month, after completion of the fifth month, the baby will have hair over the head, and after 6 months, the baby will develop eyelashes, and this is the period where the baby starts dreaming out. And this is very important in the interesting fact that baby knows the swimming, how to swim from the birth. Okay, because it resides in an atmosphere which is totally filled with the fluid. So baby was swimming before the birth. Okay, and you can see the eyelashes formation is very crucial for the eyeball movement. And after 6 months, baby starts dreaming. Whatever being happening in the outer environment, he can use to do the reflexes for the same. Now, come to the end of ninth month, baby is fully ready to get delivered outside. Now, the delivery is referred as parturition. The average duration of female pregnancy is about 9 months, which is referred as gestation period. Please eliminate A from here, and this is referred as gestation period. And the act of expelling the full-term fetus from the mother uterus at the end of gestation period by vigorous contraction of the uterus is referred as parturition. It is totally neuroendocrine mechanism. Parturition signal is originate from that of the fetal ejection reflex when some uterine contraction is there, because parturition is going to happen, and from where the signal is being received, that is by the fetal ejection replace, when fetus is going to pass on signal through that of the placenta, and uterus is going to be contract. Okay, this is referred as fetal ejection reflex, which in shorter term or in common term referred as labor pain. This triggers the release of oxytocin from the maternal pituitary, and oxytocin is going to induce more stronger and rigorous muscle contraction, and ultimately led to the delivery of the baby through the birth canal. Now comes to the lactation. Lactation is done by the mammary glands in the female and going to produce milk after the pregnancy. It's going to nourish the young one, and the first yellow color thick fluid that used to be secreted by the mammary gland is referred as cholesterol. In initial days, it is being secreted, and it is very rich of antibodies and all sort of nourishment like calcium, fats, and lactose, going to provide passive immunity. I can recall that in the year 2013, the NEET has asked one question that the cholesterol have antibodies, calcium, lactose, and citric acid. You have to remember the citric acid is sour in taste, and this is not going to be present in the milk. So the answer was citric acid, which is not being present into the cholesterol. So you should have clear cut understanding that any sour substance is not going to be present in the milk. And IgA, immunoglobulin A, that is antibody, is present inside the cholesterol, and that going to provide ready-made immunity to the baby. And this is very very critical, as a baby is coming from the very well protected environment, cozy environment, that is uterus, to the outside harsh environment. So it needs some sort of antibodies which has been provided by the mother's milk. Breastfeeding is recommended by doctors for the healthy baby. That's all for today. Thank you.